Hello and welcome, Morgan, to the Atlantis channel. I'm so excited to interview you today. I'm so excited to chat with you. Our conversations are the best. Morgan is a human design expert. And just to preface this a little bit, I've had a lot of interactions with human design, and I've had a lot of people that I interact with on human design. Morgan, you have the depth of knowledge that I haven't found with other human design experts. Like the intricate, like little tiny gates and shadows and all of the little juicy details that I love to dive into, you go there. And I love that about you.
Thank you. Thank you. I love human design. I'm like a nerd for it. So
Yes.
it's like my one thing that I found in my life where I'm like, this is it. And I
Yes.
just like go
Yeah.
so hard in the paint for it.
I love that. I love that. Is that in your human design somewhere?
Yeah. So which is funny because it's in my unconscious side of my human design channel, but it's really a zest for life. It is a
Mm.
zest for it's a zest for life, this zest that of just like, let's go, let's do it, let's enjoy it,
Mm.
let's really just like dive in. I also have a couple different placements. I also have like the gate of skills where I really love to like acquire. I call myself like I'm like a certificate slut. Like I love
Yeah.
certificates. Like I could not want to learn more. I'm like pumping all of my money into everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got a few of these like go so hard for the things that you really love.
I love that. I love that. And I resonate with the certificate slut. What skill is that? Or what gate is that?
It's gate 16. It's hanging off of your off the oh my gosh, off the
The
throat
throat.
center.
Yep, I
And
have
yeah,
it.
it hangs off the throat. You do, yep.
Yeah, I'm like looking at it like, yep, I have that.
Uh-huh.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, where did you learn about human design to begin with? Like what introduced you to this?
Oh my gosh, so funny. So it was in early 2019. I was scrolling on Instagram and a friend of mine said, "Hey, follow my business page. I'm a human design coach." I was like, "What is a human design? What pray tell am I to that to be?" And I ran my chart for the first time and I was just like blown away. And fun little fact, they say that the second you see your human design chart, you've entered into your experiment. And it really did feel like that for
Mm,
me. It was this like new experiment, something new to try, something new to play with. And as someone who, I mean, I have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy. And so personal development is just something that's like in my blood. I'm really obsessed with growing and changing and how can we edit this and how can we make this a little bit better, and really viewing the outside world as this beautiful place of learning. And so
mm.
human design really did that for me. It also made me feel super seen. I was just like, oh my God, wait, oh, this is me. This is me. I am different.
Yes.
So yeah, so I really got into it. Probably I would say I played with it a little bit during 2019, but I was in a corporate job, so that took up all of my time. And then when the pandemic hit and I had all this time to do other things, that was the thing that I just like dove into. I bought every book, every software program, had tons of readings done by other people. It was wild. It still is wild because I usually drop stuff. Like I'm like, oh, I'm over
Right?
that. Like I'm bored. Like, okay, that's boring. No, this I'm just like, I can't get enough of it. And I find that my well-being shifts when I'm not really deep into my practice of my experiment and really being in human design. So it's really interesting when I can see that shift when I'm not pouring myself into it, that I can notice that there's some shifts that go on in my body where I'm feeling a little more depleted. I'm feeling a little less joyous, a little less purposeful. And human design gives me that, which is just so cool. Like it's a tool. It's so amazing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. That is amazing. For the viewers, you are a manifester. Yes.
Correct.
Morgan's
Yes.
a manifester. And what's your profile?
So I'm a 6'2" profile. I'm currently in the second phase of my 6 line, which is aloof on the roof, which is kind of funny. But really what it is it's, you know, as you have a 3 in your profile. So
Yeah.
we act very similar. But basically, I'm in a space of my life where I've been acting like a 3 for the first 27 years. And then I was like, oh, the drama. I need a break. I need a break from all the experiencing. So I'm kind of in this phase where I've pulled back, I've withdrawn from the drama, and I'm chilling here for a little bit.
I love that. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I love this talk of it's an experience, right? Like, and this is just a fun map. And I resonate. I hadn't thought of that before, but I really resonate with you. I'm not as deep into human design as you are, of course, but when I am in human design and when I'm researching and studying it, I feel the sense of aliveness and excitement. And it's about this experience and experimenting with what is possible. Because there's so much possibility within human design. Like every little detail, it's like, oh, could that be possible? You know, and like you just get to try it on for size.
I love that. And that's a great, like, that is such a great way to look at it, is from this lens of curiosity and possibility. Is that maybe, I'm not sure. Let's try it. Let's play. It's why it's an experiment, because it's not always going to resonate. Sometimes things are going to fall into the background. What's activated in the human design transits and not activated in your chart is going to feel like background noise. And you can look to others outside, the people around you, your loved ones. And if that's activated in their charts, then you might be able to help them a little bit. It almost feels like it's like a hack, like the secret sauce of like the world. And as a Cosmo girly, a Cosmo horoscope girly from the 90s. Like, I was obsessed with reading my horoscope. Like, human design is like a horoscope all the time.
Yeah. Awesome. That's amazing. That's amazing. This is so good. And it's so interesting. I love how you talk about like, you know, some of it lands and some of it doesn't. And I found that to be true over different times. But I also, I just have to say, this is cracking me up because a while back, this is Dakota resisting who she really is. A while back, I like ran my chart and I ran it wrong on accident. I put the wrong, like what, 12-hour, whatever, doesn't matter. I put it in wrong. And it showed my chart and it was almost the same, but like one thing was different. And I was so excited to not be who I am. Right. Yeah. But it's like, it's so interesting to me though, because in that experience, I really got to see my shadows, see what I don't like about myself so that I can turn it back around and look at that and fall more in love with myself. Right. And then I ran that chart because I found my birth certificate. I've been going off of a chart that was 7 minutes behind, and I just ran it again today. And it's almost exactly the same, except for one of my arrows is flipped. And some of my like planetary alignments, like 2 of them are different. That's it. Ooh. And it's like, it's very subtle, but I want to bring this up because I had a conversation with somebody who's very new to human design. They were like, I don't know any of it. And they were like, I just don't really resonate with that. And I'm like, great. Like, let's like experience, like, you don't have to resonate with, it's like I'm a Cancer, right? There's so much stuff out there about being a Cancer that I'm like, yeah, okay. You know, like you really do just get to try it on and see like, what could this mean for me? And how does this affect my life? And play, you know?
And play. Yes. The ultimate goal of my life is I just want to play more. I'm so over it. Like I'm so over being in this like buttoned up, like, oh, okay, I have to look a certain way. I have to act a certain way. Like, and also this is part of my human design it's trait 8. But really it's about pushing the boundaries of authentic self-expression. And that's what I do with my clients is I encourage this authentic self-expression that has a little bit more nuance to it. You're not just a manifester, but you're a manifester that speaks from their heart, or you're not just a manifesting generator, you're a manifesting generator with a completely open emotion center, which is where all of that wisdom lies, where you get to be this beautiful empath and to know that like there's this story that we tell about ourselves, where you can either say, oh, I'm such an empath, or I'm an empath and I feel other people's emotions. And yes, sometimes I am deeply affected by the emotions of other people. And sometimes I don't know the separation. Sometimes I'm absorbing everyone's emotions and I'm feeling it and I'm experiencing it. And sometimes it affects me so much, I'm not sure if it's mine. So different than like, I'm so affected, like there's this whole, it's about telling your story from this place of like rooted in that central channel, in this like, oh, like I am here, like, and I know who I am. And that's what I feel like human design really can give you the language to lean into, is this is who I am and this is how I'm going to operate, and I'm going to grab onto it and I'm going to hold it and I'm going to love it. How can I love that part of myself more?
Oh, that is so good. Can I tell you a story about the emotional me, the manifesting generator, with a ton of definition, but a completely open emotional center? And
Yes.
this idea of like permissioning and figuring out what your story is.
Mm.
I, when did I think I was 24 when I learned about human design for the first time. Up until age 24, I wasn't even really familiar with what an empath was. Like that was not common language in the circles that I was in, but it had
Mm-hmm.
come up. I knew that my husband was an empath. I knew that a few key people were empaths. Like I'd heard that word and I kind of understood, they can feel and sense other people's emotions. I was not an empath. Like if you would have asked me at 24, I am not an empath. Like so much not an empath, right? You're laughing because, and I saw my human design chart. I was like, wait, so you mean that I can all like I'm just feeling everyone's emotions all the time. And it like I was like, I don't like what do you even mean? But the what looking back in retrospect, right? Looking back, it's like I had taken on everyone's emotions my entire life and I just identified with them and they were my own and they were my own problem and I had to fix them. And so much identifying with it that I did not even remotely realize that I was feeling others' emotions.
Wow. What a revelation.
Yeah. And so here we are. It's been what, 3 years that I've learned about my human design. And still to this day, it's like such a chore for me.
Mm,
That's not mine. Oh, that's not
mm,
mine. Like, and to not just like take it on all day long.
And to know, right? Like that's where so much wisdom will continuously come from with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so beautiful. Like how lucky. Like you're so lucky that that's going to be the wisdom that you get to have forever, of really learning like what are Dakota's emotions? What is Dakota feeling right now? And to create that separation of like, this is mine. Like, oh, like I get to love this emotion of mine. Like it's my emotion. It's mine today. Like that's so beautiful. I also have an undefined emotion center. And when I'm around people who have a defined emotion center, I like have to like have little mini like nudges to my husband. I'm like, you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. And I'm like, you sure? Because I can feel it. Like I can feel it in my physical body right now.
Oh my gosh. How do you know what's yours?
Um, I think honestly, breath work really helped with that, because especially solo breath work, and doing breath work online. I didn't really I didn't, I mean, my breathwork journey started, I only did in person up until we started the pause breathwork program in May. I'd only done in person. And when I had done in person, it was so beautiful because I was feeling the emotions of other people around me, but guaranteed, even if I didn't feel like crying, if the person next to me was crying, I'm in sob form. Like eventually I'm feeling it, and I'm like absorbing that, right? And so to do breath work online solo by myself at home, I really got to experience what it was like for Morgan in her own body. And then also learning different techniques like creating a veil. So before I would go in to my job, before I would go into my, like a meeting, or even going into like a big party with people. Once I learned that I had an open emotion center, I now have gone to where I say, okay, I'm going to create this veil. There's a little veil that I'm creating where I'm filtering out the emotions of other people. Not that, nope, we're going to create this little thing. Also, like, just little fun, you know, little like sayings. Also, like, I have, when I do breath work and I facilitate breath work in person, I wear a hamsa hand for protection. So just these little just little tiny things of bits of like, okay, I'm protected from other people's emotions and I can feel my own, has just been kind of the process for me. But I have to check. Like, I'm literally will be in public and I'm like closing my eyes real quick and I'm like, is this mine? I'm like, is this mine? I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. And then I like keep going through life.
That's so good. That's so good. Okay, this is so interesting. I'm gonna ask another question about this.
Yeah, keep
If it's
going.
okay. I know that like you probably had a direction, but so let me ask it this way. I have a completely open emotion center, right?
Yeah.
But I still have my own emotions. Do you know what I'm trying to ask here? Can you just read my mind? So I have my own emotions, but my emotion center is open versus somebody whose emotion center is defined and they also have their own emotions. So, okay, let's have this. We have two people. They both have their emotions, but one has a defined emotional center, one has a completely open emotion center. What is the difference there? Is it just energy? Is it actually an emotional energy? Is it like, okay, you just take it.
Yes. No, yes. I love this. I love this because we always love our mat. We love our opposite. So we typically will be in relationships with people who have the opposite. So there's a lot of really good, well, yeah, I mean, the body, if we think about energetically, right? Cells and, we can get into like, I mean, there's so much that goes into it. And what we will do is that as someone who has an undefined emotion center, you still have your own emotions because that comes from your experience. It comes from your body. It comes from what's going on in your environment. We're reacting. Your emotions are just messages, and they're very clear messages that are letting us know what's happening inside. And when we're around someone who has a emotion center defined, typically what we're going to see is they're going to make decisions based off of their emotions. If we look in the hierarchy of decision making in the human design chart, which is really what the original creator intended it to be used for, he intended it to be used for making energetic decisions, making decisions that are energetically aligned. So when you have a defined emotion center, you're probably going to make most of your decisions based off of your emotions, especially if it's connected to your throat center, or there's a activation or a circuitry that's bringing the emotion center to the throat to manifest, to make things happen. So we both have our own emotions. It's just when someone's emotion center is defined, they're going to actually experience emotional waves that are more fluid. It's a resonance, an alignment, a feeling that is more an energetic feeling that is like, here, I can feel this energy. For us, we're like flow. We're like, okay, we're like, okay, like we ride the waves of other people's emotion. That's why like we undefined emotion centers, we're the best hype queens. We're like, you want to come to us with good information? Like, I will say, like, that was the best compliment I ever received, is I had someone come to me and say, they told me that they were pregnant. And of course I lost my stuff. I was, oh my God, I'm so excited for you. And she said, this is why I wanted to tell you, because I knew you were going to have this reaction and I knew you were going to make me feel so seen. And I was just like, I started sobbing. Like I was just like, oh my God, like that. But that is the gift of the undefined emotion center, is that we amplify the emotions of other people around us. So what a beautiful aspect of it. And when someone's angry or frustrated or irritated, we also amplify that. So that's where that wisdom really comes in, is that we can start to identify, well, that emotion's not mine. I feel irritated right now because something in my environment, the person in my environment is feeling irritated. But to recognize, like, that may feel like a 10 to me, but it really feels like a 5 to them. So then we get to take this moment where we go, okay, how do I bring myself down? How do I take a second and recognize and meet them where they are? And that's where there's the gift. And that's where that shadow can show up, where we can see that, like, yeah, sometimes I'm going to amplify the emotions of other people around me. And that's for a wonderful, beautiful thing. And when it's affecting me in a space that's making me shift into a lower vibration, how can I recognize that that's what's happening and then move from that instead of moving into it and getting sucked into like this like black hole of other people's experience?
You just explained that so well. So well.
Quite long-winded, but thank you.
No, that is a gift in whatever form that happens to be, that you're long-winded. Like you just took it right to that core. So with that emotion center, let's also complete with the undefined emotion center is decision making. So if you have an undefined emotion center, there's other possibilities. There's your sacral authority, your splenic authority, your mental authority, but having an undefined emotion center, I think it can be so easy still to sometimes make decisions that are emotional decisions. So what would you say to that? Like taking a step back and watching, I'm not making my decisions from emotions, but letting those emotions inform me about my experience, of course.
You are spot on, is letting those emotions inform your experience. And then to know, right, there's this art of contemplation that needs to occur. Richard Rudd, the creator of the Gene Keys, which is another version of human design, he really speaks to this art of contemplation. It's really taking that moment and looking at it, separating yourself and going, okay, how is this really mine? How do I really feel about this? And am I making these decisions based on the emotions of others because there's some people pleasing that I might be experiencing right now? Or maybe I'm in a hurry to be relieved from the pressure, or I need to let go of this. Like there's so many more nuances that we can look at. And I think that in my opinion, when we really use our strategy and our authority of our human design chart, you're making so far less decisions based on your emotions if you don't have that emotion center as your authority. And so I think that I always go back to the basics of human design. What's your strategy for making decisions? And where do you make your decisions from in your body? And when you can identify both of those things and get real clear on what does that feel like, real clear, it's like, okay, I know what to do. For me, I have what's called ego authority. So my heart center is directly connected to my throat center. It's about following my heart. Hilarious when I explained this to my mom. She was like, the number of times she's told the story about me that she could never make me do anything I didn't want to do still rings true. And it's ego authority. And like, as an ego manifester, that authority is 1% of the decision of the 8% of manifestors. So like, I make decisions in a way that other people are never going to understand. They just aren't. And I'm okay with that now. Of course, it caused a lot of strife and a lot of suffering and a lot of pain growing up. But now, if I don't want to do it, I don't do it. Of course, there's going to be things that I have to do. And, we've got responsibilities and we have to people and we still live in the collective of capitalism. There's going to be things that I don't really want to do. And I figure out how to do them based on my authority in my body. And I don't feel like I'm making as many decisions that are not aligned with who I am than in my entire life than I am today because of human design.
That's so good. That's so good. I'm going to put a plug in here. Morgan does human design readings. So if you're like, I want to like understand all of this stuff about myself, like really the best thing to do is to you can find like you can find free charts online, and you can Google, and you can do the 3-line thing that or the 1-line thing that I do, the researches to the depths. But
Yeah.
truly, if you're like, I want to understand how this is working for me, you got to go talk to Morgan. And what's so cool about Morgan is you also are so good at putting this into business practice.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
My
Like,
favorite. I love to put it into
yes,
business practice. It's so good.
yes, it is. Human design, it's so, you talked a little bit about, you can work with your families and you can work with the energies around you, and there's a lot that you can do there. And I didn't know you were a marriage and family therapist. That just adds a whole nother edge there that's probably amazing. But like, to put it into your business, yeah, you take it away. Take it away.
Oh no, to put it into your business. So this is how I look at it: is we are, as humans, humans with a prefrontal cortex, we love to create. We love to make things, and business is just one way that we can make things. Really, that's kind of what business is someone just had an idea and they were like, okay, I'm going to make this thing and I'm going to create from it. And so what I think is so cool is that we can actually look deeper into your chart and see what is the energy that I naturally show up in, and how can I apply that to what I do in my creativity. So you create these like little nuances, these little like stories of like, this is what my values are, the values of my company. This is where I'm motivated. This is like this is my direction. Like, you can look at all that fun stuff and start to apply it. And again, right, it's fun. It's about experimenting. It's about just doing something new, looking at it from a new space. I actually did like a business workshop. Excuse me. I did a human design business workshop, and I got to run the human design chart for my business and see what is my business's energy and how do I play. Of course, hilariously, my business is a manifester. So like, lots of informing, lots of educating. I'm like, oh, okay, shocker.
Wait, did you just run it based on like when the idea was conceptualized?
Yeah, I did. And what was fun is I looked at my I was looking at text messages and I was talking. And for me, like, when I reflected, it was like the day that I named my business. I named Breathe Your Design. It was like, that was the moment for me. And so everyone has different moments. Excuse me. And everyone has different moments, but for me, it was the name. When I gave it, when she got her name. And when I ran her chart, I was like, oh, okay. And so to know, right? Like, everything is energy. Everything is energy. And so if I have a business that's a manifester, to know that like a lot of rejection is going to show up, because naturally manifestors we have this aura that's very protected. It's not as inviting. But once you get to know me, once we're in it together, you know what I mean? Like, you feel it, it's like, but to know, right? Like, I'm like, well, my business may not be as magnetizing as a generator's. It might not have something to respond to. Also to know, like, I'm going to need to initiate when I want to meet people, right? So that's where human design can be just so fun, is that you can really create this, like, it's an entity almost. She has her own energy that she shows up in. And when we can combine them together and make them a thing, I'm like, oh, I feel like a superpower.
You're blowing my mind right now. I had never thought of like running a chart for the moment an idea is conceptualized. I have 2 key things I'm like, right after this call, I'm going to go run a chart for, because that's such an interesting, like, there's so much power there. And once again, it just gets to be an experiment, right? And it's so powerful to give your business an identity. That's the brand strategy person in me is going to geek out about that later. Oh, it's so good. So good. Let's talk about transits.
Okay.
Yeah, you're like,
okay. Have you heard of transits? Like, have you heard of the transits? Do you know anything about them?
So I like, yes and no. Pretend like I'm a complete beginner.
Okay,
because that would be perfect.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, right? Like, if you were a horoscope girly growing up and you love to read your horoscope, the transits is it. There's tons of options when in locating what the transit is, but basically it's the energy that is activated in the stars every week of the year. And it helps us to have a framework, to have a focus for the week. And I don't know about you, but like, I need direction, like Undefined G center as well. So I need a little direction, and I like it. And what it does is it allows us to have just like a thought process, a little theme that we can look at every single week and know, like, is this going to be am I going to be affected by this? Is this something that's going to show up in my chart? Is this something that I don't have in my chart? And maybe I have some conditioning stories around it. It's super cool. So basically what you can do is there's lots of different platforms that offer the calendar. I particularly like to use Genetic Matrix. It's like the most comprehensive. It has a lot of information in it. I will say, like, sometimes their initial human design chart isn't always correct or accurate. So I always, especially for beginners, I always recommend going to Jovian Archive, running your chart through Jovian Archive. They are the only platform that has licensing to Ra's original content. So always run your chart through them before you do anything else with anybody else. Like, I'm a purist when it comes to that. And when you run your chart through them, they have a calendar, and you can see the calendar and see what's activated right now in your chart. And actually, here, like, I'll pull up the one that's like going on right now. It's just beautiful. And what I think that we can do is that we can find just this, like, a framework to look to for the time of the week, right? It's like every time we have, right? Like, we have so much stuff going on, all this stuff going on. But if you're somebody like me who wants to grow and wants to change and wants to just be, like, grow and be better, do better, live better, feel better, right? All of that. You kind of need some direction. You kind of need something to look at, right? So what the transits will do is it acts like a background frequency. It is activated in the stars, and it affects everybody because whether it's in your human design chart or not, it's still there. And whether it's activated or not, you're still going to experience it. But yeah, it's like this, like, weekly horoscope of having something that you can work on, something that's tangible, something that's in your experiment. So it's fun to be able to see, like, okay, like, this is a theme that's activated this upcoming week. How can I play with that? What are the stories that I have around this theme? We get affected by it in a multitude of different ways, but I've been talking a lot. So any questions?
Yes, I would love to. Did you see what today's was, or where we're at right now? Which today is December 11th, because this will go out later. So for anyone who's watching, I'm curious about today's.
So the upcoming week, I love to look at the week ahead.
Yes, so perfect.
Kind of, right, gets me a little bit set up, right? What's going to happen for this upcoming week? So actually, the whole month of December is all about, here, let me move this real quick. The whole month of December is all about fixed patterns when it comes to selling and marketing.
Ooh.
I know. So, which is interesting, because if we think about Christmas, like the holidays, if you think about, like, Vlogmas, right? Like, AdSense is all, super heightened during this time when it comes to, like, YouTube and content creation and social media. Like, it is about selling and marketing, but it's about ideas that are in integrity. Selling and marketing in integrity, in love, in trust, in acceptance, and creating a product, creating a service, creating a space that will bring forth vitality, that will bring forth joy. And so when you think about it that way, it shifts, right? Like, the marketing, the all that selling, all that do stuff, it changes the tone of it. It's not like,
Oh,
oh, I gotta make this thing. I gotta do this thing. I gotta make sure that like this is launched and this all is aligned and da da da, right? All those stories that we tell about it. There's a new openness of like, well, if I can share in this space of love, of trust, of acceptance, then my products will have this whole new energy. My services will have this whole new energy. But yeah, it's all about sales and marketing this upcoming week. And there's like a new moon. So it's great for setting goals, great for putting, you know, your
yes.
ideas and your actions into place. But yeah, it's trait 26. I don't have it activated
Mm,
in my chart, and I don't think you do either. It hangs
nope.
off the heart center.
Yeah. That is so
Um,
fascinating.
like
So,
Chris Jenner has this whole channel.
oh yeah?
Oh yeah, and so I always think about her. It's like the entrepreneurial channel. I always think about her with this one because that woman, no one works hard. Like the devil works hard, but Chris Jenner works harder. Like she is like the queen marketer, right? If you think about how
Yeah.
she's become this momager, right? Where she is this person who knows sales, she knows marketing, she knows how to market, she knows how to create this experience for people, and yes, based around whether right whether you think one way or the other. The girl's got skills.
Yeah.
She's a baddie when it comes to this part, you know.
Yeah. That's so fascinating. That's so fascinating. Yeah. So you take these transits and the energy there and you just play with it. Think about it for your own chart, whether it's defined or undefined, like it's playing with your energy, right?
Yes, and the energy of the people around you, and the energy of the
So interesting.
collective. Yeah, so you can like reflect, right? What and right, so you know, some questions to think about, right? Am I in integrity? Am I taking care of myself? Because I can't be an efficient marketer or an efficient salesperson if I'm not taking care of me. And so there's like this, you can really reflect, right? And so my
Yeah.
process is that I read uh, about the trait, I read about the gate, that what's like the information on it, and then I reflect, right? How does that affect me? And then of course, then I'm like hyper focused on everybody. I'm like, ooh, oh, that was so sale. Oh, that was like, oh, that was so in integrity. Like I can't help myself.
Oh my gosh. That is so
It's like
good.
my
Okay.
lens for everything.
This is fascinating. Can I tell you something I have not told anyone yet?
Yeah. Oh, yes,
On
please.
Saturday, I quit Instagram.
You did.
I just quit. I didn't tell anyone.
Wow. Okay.
And it was this, like, this is like, it ultimately came down to, without getting to the whole story, it was, this is not integrity with who I am, how I want my life to be. It's not serving me. It's also not really bringing me clients because it's not in integrity with me, right? Like, it's not, there's some beautiful connections and some things I love about that space. But at the end of the day, it's my in-person connections. It's my YouTube channel. It's these conversations like this is true. This is where I build trust. This is what I love. Like this is where that whole thing, all of it gets lit up. So you're like speaking to this and I'm like, that's insane. Like I just
Love it.
cut and
It's
dry.
so good. It's so good, especially when you can like really relate it back and you're like, oh my gosh, like how aligned. Like that is so
Yeah.
aligned. And so that's like something that like I work on with my clients is that is when we're doing a one-on-one session, the first thing we look at is what is activated in the human design transits right now. What is
Mm,
a collective effect on your human design chart and on what other people are going through. And so we create launch dates based on your human design chart. We can create, we can right, we can play with this energy and like harness it and go, okay, well, if you're gonna launch during Saturn, you're, you know, a Mercury retrograde or a Saturn return, right? Like, hold on, let's play with this energy a little bit. Oh, you know, well, you don't, you're wanting to, you feel this like push, this pull, this magnetizement to whatever you want to do. Okay, so let's look at what's activated in the human design chart right now. What energy is going to support you or what's going to thwart you? how, right? If we, like, last week was all about rhythms, all about fixed patterns, making things happen in this rhythmic way. And I had a client who had that activated in her chart, but she has an undefined throat. So there's all of
Mm.
this, all, like, she's like, I know, I can feel in my body that there are patterns and there are rhythms that I want to help teach other people how to access, but I don't have a way to build that manifestation. So we got to be able to see, you need to work with a business coach. You need to get with your business coach who can help you to work to get those things out on paper. If it wasn't for the transits, we would not have had this like super nuanced information on what she needed to do. It's so freaking cool. Like, I know it sounds kind of weird that I'm like, no, like I really believe this, but like I like really believe this.
It's not weird at all. It's not weird at all. And I love how you talk to when you can speak to the transits and like almost like, let's look at last week before we look at this week. Let's look at last week. You can see that brain proof. It's like, oh, I did see that in my experience last week. Like unconsciously, you can bring that to the conscious. Now you have brain proof, and now it's easier to trust.
I love the brain proof. Yes, yes.
Okay,
Evidence.
so
Yep.
good.
So good. It's really
Okay,
fun.
I want to keep talking to you forever, but I gotta let my babysitter get back to their life, which is my husband. So this is such a good conversation, Morgan. And how can people work with you? Are you taking like one-off sessions? Do you have a bigger package right now you're offering? Like what do you want to
Yeah,
tell people about?
so I have a couple things in the funsies coming up. So I do have a core package. Well, I have a package. It's called Core 4 Processing,
Mm-hmm.
where I've combined human design and breath work. And what we do is we look at the four most activated traits in your human design chart. So we're looking at your conscious sun, your conscious earth, unconscious sun, unconscious earth. And we go through a whole deconditioning process with those four. That's one of my packages that I have. And then coming up in January, I'm going to actually start a monthly transit talk. So so every month we'll get together, we'll talk about what's going to be activated this upcoming month so that you can play with it, you can look at it, see what's going to just like give you life and light you up. And you can maybe plan a little bit, like, oh, well, maybe I was going to do that this week, but maybe we'll move it to this week so that I have a little extra oomph and like motivation. But really you can play with it any way you want to. And yeah, so I love it. And so I'm super excited. It's actually something I do with like my girlfriends anyway. So I kind of figured, I'm like, why don't I just do this for everybody? Like, this is so
Yeah.
fun. So yeah, so that's what I got upcoming for me.
Oh, that's so exciting. That is so exciting. I've already been telling people about you. So I will for sure put a link down in the show notes where you guys can grab those packages and just reach out to Morgan, say hi. She's a gem. You're seriously my favorite. You're so
Thank
welcome. You're
you.
so
I
welcome.
appreciate
Thank you.
you.